Matthew chapter 8, 23 to 27. Jesus calms the storm. Our word that we're featuring is number 3640, ones of little belief. And the personal pronoun will be the Greek structure that we are going to feature in this section. It begins, Ke emvanti avto is to plion, and in his stepping into the boat, ikoluthison avto imathite avtu. Now, Jesus steps into the boat first. It's interesting, I thought, instead of after them, but then they followed him. So he is leading them into the boat and also leading us into the boat. And to hear him and of him both go up to the Jesus in the last section. Ke idhu, and behold, seismos megas ageneto in te thalassi, and behold, a great quaking, seismos, we have a seismic, comes from that word. It took place in the sea or on the sea. Oste to plion, kalipteste, hypo ton kimaton, so as to cover the boat under the waves. I had a sailboat for years down in Southern California. It wasn't big, it was 22-foot Catalina, and I had a friend. I was working as a meter reader for the gas company in Los Angeles, and a friend, another meter reader, and he is Hispanic background, and we both took off and went to Catalina Island, 25 miles, halfway you're out of the sight of land. You depend on a compass. We got there. We were going back. We asked the harbor master if the weather looked okay, and he said yes. So we headed back to San Pedro. Well, about halfway, this wind came up. Santa Ana, they call it. It comes from the desert. It goes out towards the ocean, and the waves can get 10 or 15, 20 feet high. This was one of the strongest Santa Anas on record, and we were out there. And these waves, I mean, they were huge. My boat's 22 foot long, and here my fingers would be the size of the boat, and I'm going up the wave, and then I would pull the tiller so I wouldn't go crashing over it. So I go up, and then I would slide down this other side and get to the trough and go up. Well, we were like this for hours, and we were scared to death we were going to die. So I had this little metal horn. I was too cheap to buy a air horn, so I got a horn you blow. So we were frantic. If we saw any boats, we were going to ask, bail us out. So here comes a destroyer out of L.A. Harbor, and I'm starting to blow my horn, this horn, boop, 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 as much as I can. I couldn't do it anymore. I'm not a trumpet player in an orchestra, and the other fellow, he's blowing the horn. Well, the destroyer went on by, and we're stuck out there in this giant weather. Put a 6-pack of beer in a sail bag with about 100 foot of line in the back, threw that over, and that weight of that line kept the boat always, what would I call it, perpendicular, I guess, to the wave. So when we get to the top, then I'd pull and we slide over. So that 6-pack of beer really saved us, and we finally got back that night. The winds died down, and we were able to get back into Los Angeles Harbor, and my Hispanic friend, all of a sudden, he was no longer Hispanic, he was white with salt all over his face, and me too. He is covered in salt, dried salt. So I know what it's like to be in the sea, and these winds come up, and it's really bad, very, very scary, and that's where these men were. They were in a bad shape. And so what happened, it says, Avtos they, akathav they, but he was sleeping. Avtos, he himself was sleeping. And that avtos, again, would be Jesus goes up there where the line showed. Ke proselthontes imathite igaron avtu, igaran. And his disciples coming forward, roused him. Jesus, shake him. Hey, get up, get up, get up. And him would be Jesus, and the pronoun avtu. Legontes saying, Kyrie, sosonimas. Oh, Lord, save us. We perish. Apolematha. We perish. Now, here, soson is correct. I use it most places, it's to deliver. But here, saving us is that an instant thing that you do. But delivering is an ongoing process, which most usage of this word, 4982, is to deliver. It's an ongoing process. It uses it in the future tense, the past tense, and so forth. And imas would be the disciples. We perish. In 26, ke legi avtis, waking up, he says avtis to them, his disciples, ti dili este, why are you timid or scared? Oligopisti, O ones of little belief. This word only appears 5 times in the New Testament. This is one of them. And the other are following Matthew 6:30. Jesus says, but if the grass of the field today is being, and tomorrow it's being thrown into an oven, and God so clothes, how much rather you, O ones of little belief? God is going to take, if he takes care of the grass, it grows and everything, he's going to take care of us, but he calls us of ones of little belief. He was talking to the disciples, of course, but he could be talking to me, I'm sure, maybe you, ones of little belief. And when we have a belief in Christ, but yet they roused him, we're perishing. Now, that's when you're in the storm and things are looking tough, it's pretty normal to cry out, oh Lord, save us. And now what else could they have done? Just what, well, Jesus is here. We ain't going to worry about it. If we drown, we drown. I suppose that would be the alternative, but they weren't. And so when we were in these positions, well, I suppose we'd have to come to the understanding that, well, Jesus is in charge. I'm not. My health, I can only do so much. Jesus is in charge of my life, in charge when I was born. He's in charge of when I'm going to die. And so, Lord, here I am. Deliver me. Now, another place it says about the old ones of little belief is Matthew 4:31. It says, and immediately Jesus, having stretched out the hand, took hold of him. That's Peter walking on water, and he says to him, O one of little belief, why did you hesitate? Because Peter started to drown, to go under. And then in Matthew 6:18, Jesus says, and knowing Jesus said to them, why are you arguing among yourselves, O ones of little belief, that you did not take bread? Because he was mentioning the leaven of the Pharisees, and they thought he was talking about not having bread. O ones of little belief, not realizing that God is in control. He just fed 5,000 people, 4,000 people, so why would he be worrying about bread? And then, having arisen, tote egerthis, epitimese, tis anamis. He gave reproach to the winds, ke ti thalasi, and to the sea, ke ageneto galini megali. Boy, that's really something. If I was out in the Catalina Channel and these big, huge waves, and somebody was in the boat with me, it said, waves, be still, and all of a sudden it went down to calm, I would be like, who is this? And that's exactly what happened. Ide anthropi ethavmasan, and the men marveled, legontes, saying, potapos estin utos, what kind is this one? Otike e anami ke e thalasa epoku sanavto, that even the winds and the sea obey him, him being Jesus, referring to him. Many of the miracles that Jesus has done, are they myth, or is it the sublime truth? You have to look at everything he did. And a fantastic book I would highly recommend you get would be Evidence That Demands a Verdict by Josh McDowell. And he mentions how all these things, either it's the sublime truth or it's the biggest lie in history. But it just, and he brings out the argument with a Muslim. It's really a very interesting book. Now, I found a place, I had to put it down in the bottom, the comments, under the comments, of Sunny Hills Church, the 37 Miracles of Jesus, which I think I found 39 instead. I kind of classified them in different categories. One was his control of the animal world. The catch of fish a couple of times, throw the net over and you'll catch many fish, which they haven't caught any overnight. And they pull up so many the boats started to sink. The temple tax that the men came for, Jesus tells Peter to go out and first fish, open its mouth, and you'll find a coin, which he did. And then the pigs, where they went down over the cliff when Jesus sent the unclean spirit into them, and they drowned in the water. So he controls the animal world. He controls the basic laws of nature. He turned water into wine at the wedding of Cana. He walked on water. We'll see that later here. He feeds 5,000 and then 4,000 people. Then here he calmed the storm. And then another place, the withering fig tree caused the fig tree to wither almost overnight. Controlling the basic laws of nature, and then control of the physical body. He healed lepers. He healed a paralyzed man, a man with a withered hand, the blind, the deaf, the mutes, the demon-possessed, the stooped-over woman, the hemorrhaging woman, the lame, and the servant's ear that Peter cut off. Physical body, Jesus can control that. Control over life. He raised the widow of Nain's son from the dead when they were carrying him out, touched the bier, and he woke up. And he healed Jairus' daughter, went into the room and raised her from the dead. And then Lazarus from out of the tomb, and then himself rising from the dead and the ascension into heaven. Now, so many people put their lives at stake to write these things down and lost their lives. Why would you do that over a lie? Well, you wouldn't. So that's one proof that these things are all not myth, but truth, sublime truth. And the second is that many of these things were prophesied to happen, and Jesus fulfilled the prophecy. I didn't bring these things out here, but that's another element that shows that this is not a myth, but the sublime truth. Interesting, in this segment we see that nature obeys Jesus, but man disobeys Jesus. And many of us have disobeyed the Lord. We still do. Want to do our own thing or sin or go our own way, whatever it might be. And then that causes us nothing but grief and problems. And we just have so many things that can happen when we don't obey Jesus. But Jesus was able to calm the storm. And he's able to calm the storm in your life and in my life and anybody that calls upon him. Our next section, it's an interesting one. The demon-possessed men of the Gergesenes.